The next recipe that we're going to be making is lasagna. And who doesn't love a pan of lasagna? It's just a wonderful comfort food, and I think everybody really enjoys it. So I'm going to show you how to make it today without having to pre-cook your noodles because, you know, all of us are looking for a quick way to do things. And I'm also going to show you a dairy-free, no cholesterol way to make lasagna. And traditional lasagna is loaded with calories. And it's that cheese in there that makes it wonderful and gooey and comforting. So let's see if we can try to find a way to make it healthier so that you can sit down and enjoy the comfort of that meal without feeling guilty. We are ready to start building the lasagna. Now I think this part is really fun, one of my favorite things to do. And let me just talk a little bit about the pasta. I'm going to be using a semolina pasta, but for those of you that are gluten-free, there are some available on the market, and this is the one that I find the closest to a regular lasagna noodle. It's tinchiata, so this is really nice. A little pricey, but if you need to eat gluten-free, I just want you to know there are amazing options out there for you. So now we're ready to go. Let's just review everything that we're going to be putting into this dish. We've got our tofu style filling, simulating ricotta, and we have some homemade spaghetti sauce. This is about 2 quarts is what you need. You can use homemade or you can use store-bought. And then over here we have some mushrooms and some fresh spinach, and I have 2 kinds of vegan grated cheese. These are completely optional, but I like to tell people if you're cooking for your family and they're not used to eating really healthy, or they're not used to eating dairy-free, and you're just trying to introduce some things that are new to them, try to make it as close as possible to what they're used to. It might need to be a little richer than what you would ultimately prefer, but think of it as a stepping stone. Everybody's on a journey, and if you're taking your family with you, then you need to go easy, take an easy stride. Otherwise, they may get so discouraged that they might just want to give up altogether. So let's go ahead now and build the lasagna. And we're going to end up with 4 layers rather of noodles. So I like to think about, okay, how many noodles can I put in each layer? 1 pound of lasagna noodles, a standard box, is about 18 noodles. So that means you're going to have, if you do 4 layers, you're going to have 4 noodles for each layer with a couple left over. So I like to do it ahead of time and just section them out. Most pans are going to be narrower at the bottom and kind of fan up, so it makes sense that your lower layers have a little less noodle, and then as you come up you can go with a little more. So I'm going to set aside 4 for the bottom layer, and then I'm going to do 4 for the next level up, and then I'm going to do 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it turned out. I wasn't sure if it would, but it did. So let's go ahead and start the building. I'm going to put a little water in the bottom. I have 1.5 cups of water measured out. Now, the reason that you're adding water to this is because we're not pre-cooking the noodles. This is like a super easy, fast way to make lasagna. And I can tell you from experience, most people don't make homemade lasagna because it's so much work. The traditional way, and if you're a perfectionist, you might want to do it, you would pre-cook all of your noodles, and it's a parboil. So it's going to be 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes max. You parboil them, and then you're going to drain them out and layer them. I like to do it on a towel. Just lay them out and let them set there until you're ready to build the lasagna. Now in that case, you're not going to need this extra 1.5 cups of water. This is just to cook into the noodles while this pan is baking, and it just makes it really easy. So 1 pan, you need about 1.5 cups of water plus your standard lasagna ingredients. So let's go, okay? I'm going to put in a little sauce in the bottom with a little water. And you don't have to worry too much about how much water you're using. I tend to put a little extra at the bottom than I do on the other layers, simply because it tends to cook a lot on the bottom of the pan. So if you think of it this way, the bottom layer is just kind of watery sauce. Okay, maybe I'll put a little more, and this smells amazing. Because when I made the sauce, I did use lots of fresh basil that I froze from my garden. And I put in some dried basil too, to get that peppery taste. Now we're going to put the noodles in, and we're going to layer one. They don't fit this way all the way down, so I'm just doing it this way, and it doesn't really matter what direction you lay the noodles, because when it's all done, you can't really tell. Now when I go to lay the fourth one, it's going to be a little too long, so I just break some of that off. Okay, and I'm going to save that for later. Put as much as you can that fits in. It can be in pieces, it's okay, because those noodles are going to swell up and fill the pan. That's why it doesn't matter too much what it looks like at this stage. Now we're going to put some of this ricotta on there. Remember, we divided it into about 4 parts. So you want about 1/4 of what you made. I'm going to get that in there. Doesn't it look good already? And then I get out my glove again, because I'm going to get my hand in there. And I just kind of divide it up as evenly as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't it look pretty already? And this is just the beginning. I love making lasagna. Okay, now what can we go with next? Well, how about some mushrooms? Let's go ahead and put some of these on there. The mushrooms are optional. Some people don't care for mushrooms. And I really like to use fresh spinach. I'll just layer that on there. It's amazing how beautifully this all cooks up. Are you getting an appetite? I am. And if you want to, like I said, it's optional. You can put some of these grated vegan cheeses. This one is a mozzarella style, and this is like a shredded Parmesan. If I was cooking for my relatives that were used to the real deal with all that gooey cheese, and I wanted them to get excited about a vegan lasagna, I would probably use a little bit of that cheese. Now a layer of sauce. Again, nothing has to be perfect. It just has to look beautiful. And then spread that around as best you can. Next, we're going to add some of the water. And I like to put it around the edge, just a little bit, and approximately where those divisions of the noodles would be. Now we're ready for another layer, okay? We're going to do 1, 2. All right, now we're doing our last layer of noodles. We're doing 1, 2, and I like to keep it just a little away from the edge if I can, because remember, those noodles are going to swell. And we've got one more here. Let's see how many little scraps we've got that we can throw in there. And just stick them on. And then I like to press it at some point. Kind of get all that moisture down in there close to the noodle, see? I'm like pushing it down. Now we're doing one last layer. So whatever of the ricotta filling you have, you can put that on the top. Now if you run out of filling, that's okay, of the ricotta filling. You don't have to put this on top, but I usually make enough of the fillings so that I have some to put on top. It just looks really pretty coming out of the oven after it's all baked, having that little bit of a cheesy topping on there. Okay, and we're going to do one last layer of sauce. You can also use a little of this if you want to. Again, it's optional. And here we go. Whatever sauce you have left, you're gonna put over the top. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just add the water to there and thin it down. It doesn't really matter how you mix your sauce and the water because it's just gonna all cook together. But it'll be easier to spread on the top, especially if you have some moisture in there. Okay, spread it around. I'll tell you what, it is going to be smelling really good in here in a little bit. Okay, that looks about right. So now you want to cover this before you bake it. That's really important. And you know, I'm not crazy about tin foil touching my food. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of parchment paper over here. This is a great thing to have in your kitchen, parchment paper, just because, as I mentioned earlier, things won't stick to it. I'm going to lay this right over the top. Then I'm going to get a big piece of aluminum foil. And you want to cover it really good and tight. That's why I like to use the parchment paper if you have it around. It's really helpful just because you are going to be baking this for a long time. And sometimes, especially something acidic, like spaghetti sauce, will dissolve the aluminum foil. And I've always hated that when I take my aluminum foil off and I find that it's been dissolved by the food underneath. It's not very good. I don't like to serve that to my company. So as tight as you can get it, and then we're going to put this in a 350-degree oven, and we're going to have to bake it for a while. You want to go about 2 hours, but you have to, because you're not just cooking the lasagna, you're needing that to heat up and get good and hot, and then those noodles need to cook inside. That's why you can do it. You need to do it for about 2 hours. Another thing that I should mention is, let's say you're having company and you don't want to go through all this trouble the day of. Go ahead and make it the day before and put it in your refrigerator. You can pop it out of the refrigerator and proceed with the baking just like we're doing now. And the same amount of time too. I'm going to probably be taking it out of the oven a little short of 2 hours, maybe after 1 hour and 50 minutes. I'm going to check it, make sure those noodles are done, and then put it back in the oven uncovered. So let's go ahead and pop it in. We're ready to take that lasagna out of the oven. Here we go. And as always, we like to sprinkle a little bit of this wonderful fresh parsley over the top. You can do it fine or you can do it coarse. And in this particular dish, I like it a little on the coarse side. And I would let this sit for about a half hour to let it set up a little, and then it's ready to serve.